Okay. We are live. Put that here. I will go to Slack first. There 39 people across 14 time zones.
Nice.
Nice. Okay. Let me do some social stuff. Post on the page. All right. In the podcast page. More and we're done. There you are. Almost there. Talk amongst yourselves.
There we go. Tweet it. No, I was tweeting.
Oh, you're tweeting?
Yep.
Thank you for tweeting.
What did you have for lunch?
Me?
Yeah, you both of you.
I went to Jimmy John's, had a sandwich.
Yum.
I was totally a rebel. I made breakfast for lunch.
That's the best. I do that all the time.
Nothing wrong
And then
with
I
that.
had a cookie for breakfast, lunch, dessert.
Yeah, I had a sandwich too. Homemade though. Made a bulgogi sandwich with like sweet potatoes. It's really good.
Oh, wow. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Wow.
It's the cookie.
All right. We are
It's the
posted.
cookie catching up with me.
Mm-hmm.
We are posted on the socials. I'm going to record here. And audio hijack. I think we're ready to go.
Nice.
All right. You guys ready?
Yep.
I am ready.
Awesome. Episode 165. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 165 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my co-host, Warren Sklar, is off this week, but I have two great guests on the show, returning guests. As always, we have our, I guess we can call you a regular guest, Mr. Jeff Gamet. Welcome back, Jeff. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's awesome to be here. Thank you for having me back. And I realized that when Warren's gone, it takes two people to fill his shoes.
This is true. This is true. So, and welcome back to show, Patrice. How you doing, Patrice?
I'm doing really well. I'm second podcast today with you lovely people. So
yeah, we all did.
It's always fun.
We did the Mac show earlier today, and wanted to accommodate your schedule. So we are recording this on a Friday, which is no problem. And especially going into the Labor Day weekend, we had some good time to do it. So glad you're here. Glad you're here, Jeff. And as always, there's always lots of stuff to talk about in the world of Apple, and we'll have some news and some good topics. And let's just dive right in and let's talk here. First story I got here is Apple released a revised version of the latest AirTags firmware update again. This was end of August here, Tuesday. So they did release a revised version. It went up another version from 1A291C to 1A291A. I don't know. Again, we don't know what the heck they do with these upgrades and these firmware for the AirTags. Patrice, do you have AirTags? Have you been using them?
Yeah, I've been using them, and it's really curious. I mean, I would like to know what Apple has been doing. Like, Apple, give us release notes.
Right.
They've been really secretive about it.
Yeah, it's kind of, they've been kind of doing that with like all the, let's say, the accessory products. Like the Apple Watch gets proper release notes, but like the AirTags, the AirPods, like all of that, you just get nothing. I mean, they don't even tell you that there's an update. People just notice that all of a sudden there's a new version out there. So
that's where we got to depend on Mac rumors to tell us.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
You have some AirTags too, Jeff. You've been using?
Yeah, I have a couple, and I went and checked right away to see if my AirTags had the new firmware. And it's been about a week since they came out, or the update came out. And actually,
days,
no.
No, it's what, Tuesday this week, I think.
There's
So.
Tuesday
There's
this
Tuesday.
week, but then there was one the week before.
There was one the week before. That's why I mentioned this again.
Right. And my firmware version is still the version that's prior to last week's update. So I have no idea when the updates will finally get pushed to my AirTags. But wow, okay, I'm now 2 firmware versions behind, and I have no way at all to force an update to happen.
It's kind of, I mean, that's kind of interesting. It's almost like the Apple Watch. There is, like, I mean, with the Apple Watch, there's supposed to be a way to install it, but it half of the time just doesn't do it. But with these devices, like, you can't do anything to force it. Like, it just happens at some point. Yeah.
It was kind of like with the AirPods. You don't even know when those update either. So,
right.
But if we don't know what they did to them, I guess we'll just keep using them, right?
Yeah, as long as they work, I'm not complaining.
None have exploded so far after firmware update, as far as we know.
And I haven't had any reports of anybody swallowing them either. So,
right,
that's good. Yeah.
Next story here, 2 stories here relating to the future releases of products. So the Apple Watch Series 7, they're reportedly saying that there's a delay due to quality issues, and Apple would never let that happen. So production of the upcoming Apple Watch Series 7 has been delayed due to the upcoming watch featuring a quote-unquote complicated design. This was according to a report by Nikkei Asia. According to reports, Apple suppliers began small-scale production of the watch last week, and during which employees encountered critical challenges in reaching satisfactory production performance. So they're going through some differences with the complexity of the design, and it just it might be delayed. And then this article was updated that Bloomberg was also sharing similar information. So you got 2 sources that are relative. At least the one source I feel a little more credible. But Jeff, what do you think? I know this watch is supposed to have it's going to have a bigger face than what they were saying, and you were talking about like maybe wanting them to have a 55 millimeter, right?
Well, I said 51 millimeter. I
51.
Even
Okay.
Crafted the leaked photo to prove it.
Okay.
Which yeah.
Hey.
Well, it's just as credible as any other leaked photo.
It's true.
The only difference is I have straight up said I made up a photo and randomly chose a watch size.
50 centimeters, right? That's what you said?
51.
I think it's millimeters.
Yeah, whatever. You know,
Cinnamon
I
is
thought the
actually
Flavor
big.
Flav edition.
What you want.
The Flavor Flav edition.
I'd be like, big giant.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as whether or not the new Apple Watch is going to be delayed, or is seeing some sort of production delays. Well, I mean, if they're changing significantly
Right.
how the watch is designed and assembled, yeah, you're probably going to have some delays because it's new this time.
I'm not so sure I believe that. Apple has been doing this for, literal decades by now, like hardware and changing radically, sometimes changing designs or even coming out with new things. They know if they change the design that there might be issues. I have more a feeling that this is a miscommunication, that there is a delay because of all the chip shortages that we're seeing. And I mean, the quality issues that I have are just the normal quality issues that I have every time.
Sure.
But it got kind of mixed in.
Well, and to say that Apple is seeing production delays, regardless of what they are, that doesn't mean the Apple Watch is going to ship late. It just means that currently there are some things that aren't on track for the time frame that they have. Yeah. But that can all be remedied by the time the watch ships.
Or they do what Tim Cook likes to refer to as supply constrained releases.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a buzzword during their earnings call.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just harder to get them in the first couple of weeks.
It always is. Unlike some of us early adopters that are waiting at 2 a.m. in the morning back in the old days to put their pre-order in. So, but luckily we don't have to do that as much anymore. It did. Yeah. But here I am sitting late in bed, 12 midnight. The 2 a.m. Pacific. Was it? No, it was 2 a.m.
Pacific.
Midnight Pacific, which is 2 a.m. my time.
Right.
In Central Time. I think of my time zone. At least we don't have to do that anymore. So, and then kind of related to what the Apple Watch 7, this was actually in Tom's guide. I don't use this source too often, but Apple Watch 7 Series 7 surprise health feature was just tipped, and this could be a game changer. The Apple Watch 7 Series 7 standout health upgrade could be the one that we didn't see coming, well, at least until recently. Now, they were talking about they were going to have a blood glucose measurement, which I knew it was going to be a very challenging thing to do. But they're saying that blood pressure monitoring could be ready on this new watch. And I think this will be interesting that that they would add this. And they're even saying the Galaxy Watch 4's blood pressure monitor doesn't even work for those in the US, specifically for the reason of it being, again, rumors we're talking here, but I think this could be a promising thing because it already does heart monitoring and checks for AFib, all that stuff. What do you think, Patrice?
I think that's kind of, one, it's a good idea, and I think it's like a logical next step. Blood glucose, we know, is very, very hard, and probably a couple of years away still. But, the next thing, we already have all the hard features. So blood pressure is the pulse that it's measuring right now is, let's say, has limited value. Because, you can tell, sure, your heart rate is whatever, 120, 130, but it doesn't really tell you what the blood pressure really is, which is what a lot of healthcare professionals are more concerned about. So, I don't know how good it's going to be because I know that wrist-worn measurements are usually not as accurate. But, Apple has never said that it's a health care device. It's it's a lifestyle device with some limited information regarding your health, and for that they could use it. And then if you need a proper measurement, then you get something like what I have here on my desk, which is like a proper device for that. But at least it gives you some idea where you are.
Absolutely. What do you think,
it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate. If it's within a range of whatever, 5-10% even would probably be good enough.
Agree.
Yeah, Patrice is right about glucose sensing or readings. It's very easy to do if you want to jab someone, but non-invasive is a totally different thing. And Patrice, I think you're right. I think before Apple can really introduce a non-invasive glucose level reading, there's still probably a year or two of work before they can release something. As far as blood pressure
unless
goes,
they want to stab you every a minute or two.
Oh my God, can you imagine wearing an Apple Watch that every now and then just goes jab, jab? Yeah.
I don't think that's good.
And but this would be one place where if you're not getting glucose readings from your watch, Apple could legitimately say, well, you're wearing it wrong.
This is true. And then plus liability you got to think of too. I mean, I think that's always been the concern with Apple. They don't want to have any health liability, medical liability, I should say.
Right.
So this definitely going to be interesting. I think I'm glad to see there's going to be another watch and we'll see what they come up with. Again, it's all rumor, speculation. So next story, this was a brilliant publicity stunt, if I want to say it. Apple sends 50 boxes of the Ted Lasso biscuits to the Wrexham AFC soccer club owned by Ryan Reynolds and Ron McInerney. In a recent episode of Apple TV Plus series Ted Lasso, Jeremy Swift's character Higgins briefly poked fun at the two actors purchasing the Welsh soccer club Wrexham AFC last year. This led to all kinds of fun stuff that was going back and forth on Twitter, and including a humorous letter that Ryan Reynolds was threatening legal action. Well, they sent the biscuits to him. So, and it doesn't say if they've tasted them or if they were any good. I would assume they were, but I think this was a brilliant publicity stunt to not only get people talking about the Wrexham AFC, but of course Ted Lasso. What do you think? What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds is really good at publicity and doing it in a fun way. So sending the letter saying, look, we're going to have to initiate legal action unless you send Ted Lasso biscuits to us in time for our game on this date. And
I don't think that's what happened. I think he just sent a letter kind of jokingly saying, well, we didn't appreciate what you did. And like,
but did you see the letter? It's
totally it was posted on Twitter.
Legal action letter.
Yeah, totally. Like
it
was definitely tongue in cheek. But the answer from Apple was even better because they basically picked that up and then said, okay, and we're gonna send you some biscuits. And I mean, there was speculation, would they actually do it? And it turns out
they did.
They would.
Yep. Worked out.
Yeah. Where can I order them? Like, I want some too.
Yeah, I want to try them.
Yeah. And you know how they are. I'm sure they have butter in them.
For sure.
They must. I seen. Remember the psychologist. The psychologist says I don't eat sweets. The next story. This was an Apple Insider. Apple Wallet won't be replacing your physical ID anytime soon. Apple has introduced a way to carry your digital version of your driver's license on your iPhone. Don't expect to be ditching it anytime soon here. There's been numerous obstacles preventing the widespread adoption, which is, I would probably say the biggest obstacle is the states are so way behind in their technology that they couldn't even get real IDs taken care of for folks in the United States to get your driver's license so it's compliant to the TSA when you travel on airlines without having your passport. So I think only 5 or 6 states have even implemented it at this point. So it's pretty it's pretty much up in the air right now. What do you think, Patrice?
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think maybe in 50 years we will have it. Until then, I mean, until it's 100%, like you can go wherever you go, the local liquor store, TSA at the airport, like no matter where you go, unless you can use your like phone ID, everywhere and it's accepted everywhere, and there's absolutely no place where you need the physical one. Until that happens, you always have to carry it with you for that one time where you need it. And I mean, as you said, like, even if the states were ready and the law enforcement were ready and all of that, there are so many other places where IDs are used, and all of them have to support it.
Yep.
Like, so, yeah, that's gonna happen. Not anytime soon.
Nope. Hey, Jeff, I think.
Yeah, this isn't replacing your physical ID anytime soon.
No.
Keep in mind, Apple said that the initial place that the Apple Wallet digital ID will be accepted is TSA checkpoints, but only at participating airports. So there's almost no place that you'll be able to use this anyhow. So you could say, well, why even bother? Well, you have to start to get the ball rolling, and that's what Apple's doing. And eventually we'll have, actually, I think what we need is a unified digital ID system, which will freak out a lot of people. But to be able to truly have an effective digital ID system, I think ultimately it's going to have to be unified.
Yeah, and that already exists, and Apple's actually using that. There is a standard, basically, ID system already developed.
Yeah, there you go.
Just has to be used. And I mean, I think that's pretty smart to start that way, to say, okay, let's work with a couple states and like use us as ambassadors kind of to push that and get that into people's minds, into people's hands, and then eventually it's I mean, that's how Apple Pay and NFC payments, how they started mostly. I mean, some countries had them like in the early 2000s, but it really like only got the ball rolling when Apple introduced it, really.
Yep, that's
and
for sure.
That's how we
everywhere.
ultimately got USB, because it was a thing, and it was a thing that just simply wasn't being adopted. And then Apple decided, why don't we put that on this new computer we're designing called an iMac?
Yeah.
And now
FireWire is gone.
USB.
And I mean, if you think about it, let's say Apple has, well, maybe in some states, let's say 40% market share. It's a little bit more in the US usually. Yeah, I mean, that is a decent amount of people. I mean, they're starting with some weird states like Arizona and I think Alabama. So
Iowa was one of them.
Yeah, Iowa, like it's not the most populous states, but
no,
still, it's a decent chunk of people, and if even a small percentage uses that, it's not nothing.
Yeah, it's going to be a slow process, and for example, Colorado has a digital ID thing in place, but you can't use just your digital ID. You have to have your physical ID. And as far as I've been able to tell, Apple has not adopted any standards. It's just their own thing running through some.
No. The Apple ID, there's a ISO standard behind it for IDs.
Right. But what I'm saying is Colorado, it doesn't appear to me to be using the standard.
Just
they're
based
just
on the
doing
states.
their own thing.
Yeah, which may not cut it.
I compare it to my keys right now. Like I have my keys with me when I leave the house, but I don't need them. I never take them out, but I still have them with me.
Yeah, because you might need them.
Exactly. There's this one time in a million where I might still need it.
Yep. All right, let's move on. Next story here. This is in The Verge. Apple concedes to let apps like Netflix, Spotify, and Kindle link to the web to sign up. And the subtitle here, it's for apps that Apple doesn't make any money anyways. If we recall, vocal app developers were accused of Apple last week of spinning a lawsuit settlement into a App Store change that was barely even a change at all. We've talked about this last week. Company appears to be making it true by a small concession today that some readers have found that if you go to the Netflix app and you're not a customer and you want to go sign up, that they did have that disclaimer on the, and it shows in this article that trying to join Netflix, you can't because you can't do it in the app. And we know it's a hassle, but after you're a member, you'll be able to watch it on here. So I guess Apple has conceded, and they're going to allow Spotify as well as Netflix and even Amazon, for that matter, be able to sign up, just go right to the web, and which I thought this was just insanely silly, because how are they going to make money? Because none of these services are going to allow to take their 30% cut of the subscription. So, what do you think, Jeff?
I think that this has been a long time coming, but at the same time, I get, at least in my weird logic, why Apple has resisted this for now. Because even though Apple's not taking a cut of those subscription services, having the ability to link directly out from an iPhone or an iPad app to sign up, it goes against what Apple is requiring in other parts of the App Store. So it can create this confusion, but it also opens the door, and it may not be a slippery slope, but it's still a slope that Apple doesn't want to start sliding down. Apple wants to keep control over App Store purchases as much as it possibly can.
Yeah, I can totally understand Apple here. I mean, personally, I always thought it was silly that it made the experience for people worse. I mean, Netflix, probably not. I mean, people know Netflix, and most people know, okay, I'll just go to netflix.com. But for so many other apps, it made it worse, because the experience is you download, you find an app, you download it, and you get a login screen, and there's no information whatsoever. And in some cases, you might not know where to go. Maybe you can use your search engine and find the website for the app if you're lucky. As I said, Netflix or Spotify, I mean, those are easy ones. That I don't think that's a problem. So it's a concession to what, in my opinion, was already happening. And I also think they're kind of trying to preempt some legal changes here. Some laws that are being discussed.
Yep, I definitely agree. And this is kind of a sad story. The Locast is shutting down. The free streaming app ends its service after a lawsuit that was filed on behalf of all the networks, and a judge sided with the networks, saying that they are not in compliance and are not protected from any lawsuits by them restreaming all this information. Locast at first said, we'll stop the donations or forcing donations. And then the next day, right after that, and this happened about a day before we recorded this, they shut down and suspended service effective immediately. I kind of had a feeling this was going to happen. I mean, if I remember correctly, there was another service, Aereo, that attempted the same thing, and this disappeared after probably a lot shorter time than Locast. Because Locast made it through about 3 years by newness, and it's just crazy. I mean, I think it's a genius idea, and there has to be a way. I think that these networks could come up with a way of be able to monetize it enough that they would satisfy them, but also because you can get an over-the-air HD antenna and watch this stuff. Why not just do the same thing, but just retransmission on the internet? It's a whole different world back in the old days when we had analog antennas when we were watching TV. What do you think, Patrice?
I mean, whoever created that service, I mean, hats off, because they still did it, despite the fact that, in my opinion, it was pretty clear that it was legally gray area at best and illegal at worst. I mean, at least from my perspective, I'm not a legal expert, but I would have said, I mean, that's kind of sketchy. They did it, and they had to shut down. It just happens to those services. I think the good thing here is that it pushes all the networks to improve their offerings. I mean, a lot of them are doing it. A lot of them have pretty decent apps now and streaming, and aren't too expensive and all of that. But there are still gaps. I know live sports is still kind of a
big problem,
blank spot.
Jeff, what do you think?
I totally get the perspective of the user, which is I don't care which antenna is giving me the signal, I'm still getting the exact same content. So
Right.
why should it matter if I have an HD antenna, if I'm using lowcast to streaming, or if I'm using my cable service provider? It doesn't matter. From the network's standpoint and the cable service provider standpoint, it does matter, because there are deals about who gets to stream what content. And if you can just go grab an app and get your local live content, then from their perspective, it is being devalued because it's no longer being controlled. And that sucks. And here we are.
Yeah,
it was a great.
You can still like use something like Plex, for example. You can connect like a digital antenna to Plex, and have that experience still. So
problem is getting that HD antenna to get you a good signal, depending on where you are. I mean, I tried it here. Sure. I didn't want to go through an elaborate installation of putting an antenna up on my roof, and I attempted that. You have to get one of those HD home run devices for it to receive the signal that will tap into your Plex account. And it failed miserably for me, so I gave up. So yeah. And depending on where you live, if you're in a rural area, forget it. You're not going to get any HD antenna. I mean, here, yes, I will, depending on where I put the antenna. In Chicago area, obviously has a very good market. You know, the three big cities in the United States, New York and Los Angeles, would be the same way, depending on where you live. But, it's a shame. It had such a great Apple TV app, the iOS app worked great. iPad it was a pleasure to do. If you didn't donate, of course, you had to listen to them beg for you to donate before you got to start watching content. But you're to your point about the other apps that have the networks. Yeah, it's a mishmash of apps. You end up having like 4, 5, 6 apps. You want to be able to watch ABC, NBC, Fox, CBS, and but then you've got Paramount Plus and all the other ones that are paid. So it's just. This is the time of cord cutting is not pretty right now. You've got YouTube TV, and you have Hulu with live TV, and you have Fubo TV with sports, and I mean, I was also reading an article about sports too. You're right, sports is I think they're in trouble with that, and you also deal with the blackouts where you can't watch local teams in your area. Because of a law that they put in place from probably like 1970. So
probably earlier.
Even earlier than that, probably. So that's gonna be interesting to see. That was in the Hollywood Reporter, and there was all over the news as well as you go to Locast. Yeah, unfortunately, I tried to log in today and see what it would do, and it says we're not in your area, and then they just removed everything, so it's gone. R.I.P. It is sad. So. Next story, Apple acquires classical music service Primephonic. We did spend a good amount of this time discussing this on the Mac show, but I think this is still a great thing to talk about to make everybody aware. Apple today announced they acquired the classical music streaming service Primephonic, and it will be folding into Apple Music. It did provide an outstanding listening experience because, let's face it, classical music probably got a backseat of mainstream music. So it's not as easy to find classical music on Apple Music. So they're going to shut the service down on September 7th. Won't be taking new subscribers, and then they're going to give the existing subscribers 6 months of free Apple Music. Oh boy. So, Jeff, what do you think? I think this was, I guess we talked about this earlier, and I think it was a smart move, but is it, how is Apple going to do it? They say a separate app will take part with this.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is a smart move on Apple's part, and this makes Apple the go-to place for streaming classical music. So good for Apple. I think we're going to have kind of like 2 classical music experiences, just what we currently have in Apple Music. But then for the people that are really into classical, then they'll have the separate Apple Music Classical app, which displays the content in a way that's much more meaningful if you're really into listening to classical. So you can see the entire piece name, the entire movement name. because a lot of times you'll see just the first part that tells you what the overall thing is, but then you don't see the rest of it that tells you the name of this specific movement, which is actually what you really want to know. So my guess is we're talking about two different interfaces, really.
Really agree.
Yeah, one thing that I've been thinking about a little bit is, once Apple really has this up and running, this changes discoverability for classical music. How much of what they'll be doing with the Primephonic technology will be translatable back to what we already have with other music genres? And will we get some sort of better discoverability simply because Apple has this technology available?
I mean, I'm not so sure about technology. I don't think Apple acquired that company for the catalog or for the technology, because, I mean, Apple has been in music for, like, what's it now, 20 years? Almost. They have the people, they have the connections. I don't think technology is their problem. Their problem is people. Their problem is someone who understands the genre well enough to build something that works for the people who really, really care about it. Mm-hmm. Which is not what Apple Music, which is for the classic area, not what Apple Music is. On the other hand, they can bring a lot of good things to the service, because Apple has spatial audio, Apple has high bitrate streaming, mm-hmm. Apple has the backends, like all the Apple Music stuff that makes it great is all there. The technology, it's all there. So I think this is, as you said, pretty smart.
Yeah, but Patrice, now you're just like killing my hope. Because,
no,
okay. So here's the deal.
Okay.
When I look at discoverability for other genres, mm-hmm. like for example, I do listen to classical a lot, but I also listen to jazz a lot. And mm-hmm. currently on Apple Music, my jazz experience is poor, just like it is mm-hmm. for classical. And that's because discoverability sucks. And what gets lumped in to that genre in some cases is not actually jazz. But mm-hmm. If I'm listening to just a generic jazz mix that Apple puts together, I will hear some jazz, but I'm also going to hear a lot of big band, which yes, you can do jazz with big band, but big band as its own genre is a totally different thing. And it's a mess. What I'm hoping is that with the people, which I was mm-hmm. referring to as technology, I should probably value people higher if I'm referring to them as technology. What I'm hoping is that with these people and their knowledge, they will be able to bring something that improves discoverability across all genres, not just classical.
Absolutely. Yep. No, I absolutely agree with you. I was thinking about that too. Like best case scenario, they influence the rest of the department basically, and we get a really good experience everywhere.
I hope so. Right. I mean, I know people that are switching to Spotify from Apple Music because they're tired of the discoverability experience on Apple Music and they just want to do something different.
Absolutely. We'll see what happens. This story was in Gizmodo, actually, and this is this normal-looking lightning cable actually steals all of your data. The cable looks like it was made by Apple, but it was actually produced by a hacking company. And the article says, here's some Mr. Robot level intrigue for you. Imagine an incubus-looking USB to lightning cable that you once plugged into your machine that actually helps hackers steal all of your data from your iPhone and check malware onto your device. It sounds like something from a far-fetched TV show. It is. It's a surprise, actually a thing. So they found that this cable actually, what it does is it actually, once it's plugged in, it essentially sets up a Wi-Fi hotspot where the remote user can then connect to from there. An online interface that comes with the product allows the hacker to record and log activity and target the device. Keyloggers as much as 650,000 keystrokes, according to Hack5. company describes it as being a built-in covert field use with features that enhance remote execution, stealth, forensics, evasion. Oh yeah, so this cable is going to get out there and someone's going to steal someone's data. I just found this very interesting, and why this can even be legally out there. What do you think, Jeff?
This is why you don't ever use any cable that you haven't personally purchased. And you always purchase your cables from known reliable sources.
Right. I mean, I can look at the picture right now. Look at this is an Apple cable, I know for a fact, and it's flat. If you look in the picture on the article, it's round. So that, but most people, normal people are probably going to notice that.
They're going to notice that. And and if someone goes into a coffee shop and there's an iPhone cable just laying there and no one's around it,
don't do it.
Right, don't do it.
A lot of people are going to plug in.
But people are going to grab it because they're like, hey, it's a free cable. It's like people that find USB thumbsticks in the parking lot
there's another
at their
one.
business. And they're like, hey, it's a free thumb drive. And they plug it in. And the person that intentionally dropped it in the parking lot now has a backdoor into the corporation.
Yeah. I mean, this has been around for, honestly, probably a couple decades. Because I know the CIA was using stuff like this. But this is like a pretty common penetration testing tool these days, or even like a surveillance tool that you have specially made cables or like little things that you plug in that are small that grab a lot of data and transmit it somewhere. This like normal
the
thing,
range on this
and
is
they're available.
mild.
Like you can go on eBay and buy them, or like Alibaba probably.
So a PSA: don't use cables that you don't know, who have never heard of the brand. If it's Anchor, if it's any of the names you've heard of, then you're fine. But
Apple,
if it's just
Anchor,
some
OWC,
any names that you know, you are safe because they are certified by Apple actually. So
the only upside of this is the person still has to be within a reasonable range or has to pick up the cable at some point. Like drop it off somewhere, have it log whatever it is, and then pick it up again. The only
PSA,
like positive thing.
Yeah.
PSA, don't use road cables. Yeah, that's enough. And then last story here is YouTube Premium and Music surpasses 50 million subscribers. YouTube says it's passed over 50 million subscribers for its Premium and Music subscriptions, making it the fastest growing music subscription in the world. Well, of course, this is according to YouTube.
Yes.
I've been a subscriber, a premium subscriber, because I thoroughly love the fact that I don't have to watch and put up with all those ads. But it's a nice bonus to have YouTube Music. I think YouTube Music. I mean, I go between YouTube Music and Apple Music, and each service has its own little different thing. I know it's a little extra expense, but it's a nice bonus because if you get the premium service, the music comes with it. So, but I mean, I could see. I mean, there's a lot of eyeballs on YouTube, so that could definitely I could see. I think more so what drives it is the premium, not the music.
Yeah,
honestly,
I would say so too. You could translate that into YouTube is now finally annoying enough that a lot of people are signing up for premium.
Yeah. There you go.
It's basically honestly, that's the whole reason why I signed up like 2 months ago.
Me too.
It's like,
yeah. So, hey, I think it's a great service. I don't complain. I know it's Google, but
no, it's good.
I mean, we spend enough time on YouTube these days to find out anything and everything that worth the price of admission.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's move on to the stories this week. Beta keeps staying active. iOS 15 Beta 8 was released this week. I didn't see anything really notable has changed for the most part. Now, Patrice, you've got your iPhone and all your devices cooking on it. Is there anything you've seen since this came out?
I mean, they did. Was that in this beta or in the last one where they removed the SharePlay stuff?
I think it was 7.
That was the last.
I think it might have been 7. Yeah. As I said, I mean, we're getting probably in the next 2-3 weeks, we will have a release, like more like 3 weeks probably. So we're getting very close to the final thing, and Apple has removed a couple of things, including the new CSAM stuff. But yeah, it's relatively stable now.
Yeah, there's going to be a couple services, including the domain service that's still going to stay in beta. But you can go to beta. We talked about that last week. The beta.icloud.com. It's pretty slick. You get set up as long as you got to have a little bit of knowledge how to do it. It's not for your everyday person. I could tell you that. So. As far as the watch beta, it's on beta 8 of watch OS 8. I don't think there's been too much. Again, I always stress that if you want to put beta on the Apple Watch, you can't go back. So be very aware of that.
If you're going to put beta on an Apple Watch, you need to be prepared to throw away your watch.
Not throw away.
Send it
to Apple and have them send you a replacement. I've had to do that once, so years ago, but I had to do that once.
Yeah,
it wasn't fun.
There's no way back, and if something goes wrong, there's no way for you to fix it. So your watch is essentially trash until you send it to Apple, and then they end up replacing it. They don't fix it.
No, they just recycle and send you a refurbished one.
Then I'm referencing a Macworld article actually just came out yesterday as we record this. It lists all the services that will not be included when iOS 15 ships, which is including SharePlay, the legacy contacts, which was new in iOS 15, was a pair of features that deal with access to your iCloud account. Recovering contacts was a way to trust your family member or friend. Well, that's not coming over at the moment. The app privacy report. No way of exactly how apps are sharing your data. Okay, I'm not too concerned about that.
Yeah, I think that never even shipped in any betas.
Yeah, and then 3D maps. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was agreeing that we never even got it in.
I don't think we did.
Any beta releases.
No. And then 3D maps, navigation, and CarPlay. Not surprised. They probably got some things to worry about. ID and wallet, we talked about that. Universal control, which is a Mac OS Monterey feature as well. That isn't ready. So
that just hurts.
It really hurts because everybody's been super stoked about that. And then the last thing, I mentioned, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, on the other hand, I'm pretty sure Monterey is not going to ship until October. So they could just do it in 15.1.
That's a really good point, Patrice. I agree. I think that we're not getting Monterey until a few weeks after we get iOS and iPadOS 15.
Yep.
Yeah, that's usually how it works.
Yeah.
Yep,
so in that case, it doesn't matter. It's not there on launch. Still, I'm really champing at the bit to get.
Y'all are. I know Warren has been, so I can tell you that. So beta's out there. It's in public. Again, as I always say, I don't put beta on my primary daily driver. I'm lucky enough to have an extra device. So beware and proceed with caution if you're going to put beta on your devices, because you don't want to be in trouble and you don't have access to your iPhone. That's your iPhone. All right, next topic here I want to talk about a little bit. How many times should you reboot your iPhone? I've always asked that question. Apple always says it's not really necessary, but I think you got to do it from time to time. It's a computer, for crying out loud. You mean, just like a Mac or a Windows PC for that matter, which you have to reboot every day practically. Should you reboot your iOS device? And of course, we know how to do that, right? You on an iPhone, more current iPhones, you have to push the volume up, volume down, and then you hold the side button down, and then it's going to prompt you to turn off the phone. You can turn off the phone. That's not going to really reboot it. You want to do is hold on to that side button or power button in after you've done the volume up, volume down, until it shuts down and the Apple logo shows up. So that's more of a full reboot. So I like interesting to hear your thoughts, Patrice, on what and Jeff, where you feel as far as how many times do you reboot your phone, your iPhone, or your iPad for that matter?
How many times do you need to do you have to reboot it? 0. How many times do you need to reboot it because something is not working? I mean, I would say once a month, or maybe on the betas it's a little bit more, but that's betas. But I would say about once a month or once every 2 weeks, you have to reboot it because I don't know, like today I had it, the AirPods didn't connect. Reboot the phone, it works again. Stuff like that. So it's as you said, it's a computer. Like if it starts behaving weirdly, reboot it. Fixes almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and go ahead, Jeff. What's your feeling on that?
My feeling is pretty much in line with Patrice. You shouldn't need to reboot it, but I'd say every 2 or 3 weeks, every one of my devices has been rebooted for one reason or another, and oftentimes it's because something isn't working right. If it's my iPads, it's often because I forgot to plug it in and charge it, and so it just eventually shut off. And that's definitely a way to end up rebooting your devices, and it fixes problems that I routinely have with AirDrop.
Yeah, man, I had to do it. I just had to do it the other day because I was using the share sheet and wanted to share share something, and Facebook and Twitter were not appearing in the share sheet, and I go into the menu to see, maybe it's hidden. No, it wasn't even there. So I ended up doing a full reboot of the phone, and then it reappeared. So
or
so our times
quit connecting until you reboot, and then they're
working. Exactly.
Yeah, I have the same issue with iCloud on my Mac, for example. Like sometimes it just stops. It just like it shows downloading or uploading, and the only thing that fixes it is rebooting.
And then the other thing I was always curious about is should you be closing out all the apps that are running in the background? It's not necessary. I've said that quite a bit of times, but there are some OCD people out there who just can't stand all those apps running, and they're going like this, flipping up and down and getting all those apps closed. So, what's your thoughts on that, Patrice?
It drives me insane when people do that. It's one of my pet peeves when I see people doing that, and I know where it comes from. I know there was one version of iOS, like 7, I want to say, where there was a bug and some apps were hanging, and people started closing them. And unless you have an app that absolutely crashed, it does not work at all, and then you quit that one app and it works again.
Right.
There's absolutely, I mean, I'm a developer. I know exactly how the system works behind them. If the app doesn't need to run, the OS will actually kill it for you. You don't have to do that. There are some apps that can do like little background tasks and background updates, but they're like very infrequent. And the less you use an app, the less time they actually get to do anything. So there's absolutely zero reason to do it. And it's actually harmful in some cases because like restoring an app, like let's say you put an app in the background, like I don't know, let's say Facebook, because a lot of people use that for some reason. Like you put it in the background, the app has no resources that is needed. When you open Facebook, if it can restore from that background, like sleep state basically, it's super fast, takes basically no battery, almost no CPU. It just basically gets back that state, updates the feed, done. If you quit the app, it has to restart everything from scratch, and that is going to drain your battery. And the more you do that, every app you start from zero, your battery gets drained. Don't do it.
Yep.
You can tell. I'm very passionate about that. It's crazy.
Oh, then I appreciate your knowledge of that, especially being a developer, but knowing that it's not. Like how many times I tell people, don't if this, they don't have to do it. Oh, I gotta do it. I guess OCD.
I know those people. Yeah, I know so many people like that because they think it's doing something, but when it actually is usually more harmful, and then they complain that their battery doesn't last.
Yeah, it didn't help that for a long time, Genius Bar staff would tell you, "Oh, you need to quit all those apps."
Yeah,
and that didn't help.
So they got retrained.
Yeah, and Patrice is totally right. You don't need to restart or quit all these apps. For me, that the whole app switcher thing and quitting apps, I need that when I have an app that is not working correctly or seems to have locked up and didn't just shut down. Then I have a place that I can go and swipe up on the problem app.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, I mean, it absolutely. It in this case, it is different on a Mac than on iOS. On a Mac, that doesn't happen. The app will keep running and it will burn your CPU. So and like on the Mac, sometimes it's better you quit an app if you don't need it. But on iOS, the system is actually smart enough to know. It's really funny. It learns how you use the device. It knows, like, I don't know, Jeff is using like his pants finder app all the time. Mm-hmm. So that's that app gets a lot of like CPU time so that he can always find his pants. But like some other app like Facebook, he doesn't use at all, so it gets no time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So just leave your apps alone. They aren't hurting anything.
Yeah. Yes.
Other story here. This is probably more in future iPhones. This was an interesting discussion. Future iPhones could feature satellite connectivity for emergency situations. This is a report in Bloomberg, recording this off of iPhone Hacks, shedding some light about the rumored satellite connectivity will be coming to the iPhone 13. Report had detailed that Apple's intends to bring satellite connectivity for use in emergencies where users can send text messages or call first responders when they're outside cellular coverages. It's going to be using the technology called featuring low Earth orbit or LEO satellite connectivity and work on the spectrum owned by Globalstar. However, it's going to be a lot of that's going to be lost in translation. And the fact of the matter is, how's this going to work with not having one of those big giant antennas that most of these satellite phones already currently have? I would be surprised that they could even get this to work. I mean, especially when you're in a rural area. Yeah, I see where it could come in handy. I don't know if it's going to be really important when you're in an area that's really heavily saturated with cell coverage, but I think it's a smart idea. I just don't know how it's going to get implemented. What do you think, Jeff?
I think that there's another option for what Apple is going to do with this. And you're right about the antenna. Working around physics to get rid of the fat antenna and keep the iPhone thin the way Apple wants it, I don't think that's a compromise that they can make work with current technology. What I think Apple may be doing with this as an emergency service is, instead of having the phone talk directly to the LEO satellites, it's going to be using radio frequencies, like terrestrial level radio frequencies, where it connects. There are services that connect to Geostar through, like cellular service does. It connects to a tower. You're not calling someone's phone directly. And then your cell service acts as the relay between your radio, which is your phone, and the other phone that you're talking to. You can do the same thing with satellites. I think that might be the route that Apple's going, where, because that sort of signal is going to use less power and is going to be more accessible even in rural areas. Just a hypothesis, but I'm wondering if that's the route that Apple's going to go. But then it would still potentially be the same thing, where it's not, this is now your cell service. This is how you get emergency messages out.
Emergency.
I have an alternative option for that. There are those really, really expensive watches out there that you can buy today where you can, via satellite, call for help anywhere in the world. If you're in the Himalayas, somewhere on a mountain, you can call, and I mean, it might take a couple of hours for someone to get to you, but basically when you trigger that, someone gets informed. I think introducing that type of feature into the iPhone would be a game changer, especially for those situations where you're like, I mean, it happens here in Austria all the time, and also I know in Arizona, where people go hiking and like have an accident and can't call anybody because there's no cell service up there.
There are big parts of Colorado, no cell service because of terrain.
Yeah. And you don't need much bandwidth because it's not a phone call. It's literally just a signal that goes out that informs someone where you are and that you need help. All that's needed. It's basically like the Apple Watch SOS feature that we already have, just with satellite, and I could totally see that.
I like this idea.
Yeah, that is a good idea.
Yeah, because then in that case, you're not even sending a specific message. It's just the data that that tells where you are, really.
Yeah, exactly. It's all that's needed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, would totally make sense. And it's very Apple to do that.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I just want to know how much that would cost, but
that's the thing. Where's the cost going to be here to keep it in line to where?
I mean, does that become part of your iCloud subscription, or is this a separate service you have to pay for?
For only $1,000 more a month, you can have that service.
Yes. Yeah, because it's not a cheap service.
No, that's why I said like those watches are super expensive. So, and it's not the watch that's the expensive part; it's literally that emergency feature.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So definitely going to be interesting. We'll see what happens. So, before we go, I wanted to mention MacStock, virtual MacStock and conference 2021 is going to be happening on September 25th of 2021, and there's going to be a VIP pass as well as it's going to be free virtual for everybody. You can sign up and get a free pass to be able to watch all the speakers. There's 6 speakers, including our friend Kelly Gumont and Allison Sheridan, Mike Schmitz, Brett Terpstra, Wally Cherinsky, and Rick Cartwright are going to be speaking. So a little bit of a slimmed down conference, but it's still going to be a lot of fun. It's going to have a lot of our Apple friends together and having fun, and definitely going to have a good time. I'll be co-hosting with Mike Potter, who's the conference host, and we're having a VIP pass that's going to be available where if someone wanted to come into the Chicago area and visit, it's going to be at a small little location, Woodstock Opera House area. And we're going to be maintaining social distancing as well as masks and the whole thing. Unfortunately, we have to deal with that. So he's had a limited number of tickets available. I believe there's about 24 left. And I highly recommend it. It's $99 for the VIP pass, or he'll also offer a digital pass that's virtual, which is $49, and it gives you the option to have access to all the talks after the fact. Or if you just want to go with a free pass, you can do that too. That's just virtual, and you can watch live. There's going to be a lounge, be able to hang out. I'll be probably moderating chat rooms and all that fun stuff, and helping Mike out in person. We already have. I know Guy Searle is going to be coming out with. He decided to come out, and I believe Chuck Joyner is as well. So, awesome. So we're going to be having some fun hanging out, and unfortunately, I wish everybody could come. It's just with the current situation going on, but we're hoping for next year, 2022. He's announced that there's going to be 3 full days of that event, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So go to macstock2021.com, check it out. You can sign up, and hope to see you out there. And I guess in a few weeks here, about 3 weeks away here, but definitely would love to see everybody at least virtually, and we'll have a lot of fun as we have in the past. Yeah, this is 7 years since we've done the first MacStock. So, and I lost I guess I can't count my record. I spoke all the first 5, so up to 2019. So last 2 I guess don't count. So, but I'll be back speaking again soon. But it's a great conference, it really is. And Jeff, you've been there a number of times, and
yes.
One of these days, Patrice will be able to come out and see it. So,
yes.
We've had a lot of fun.
Nice conference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun, and just unfortunate though what the pandemic has done to lots of these types of conferences. And we always wanted it to be the replacement for Macworld. That was going to be a completely replacement, but at least it's come close, and at least the coziness of it, everybody being able to network, you get to see everybody, and that's what made it a lot of fun. I never had the opportunity to go to Macworld, so I can't comment on how Macworld was, but you guys probably have been there many times. So
I killed Macworld.
What's that?
Yeah.
I said I killed Macworld. So
you killed it?
Yeah.
I went to the very last one, and after that I didn't do it. So
yeah, that's all on Patrice. Yeah, it's all your fault. I hope you're happy now.
Got you.
Totally.
Yeah, having been to many Macworld conferences and having been to many MacStock conferences, saying it's a replacement for Macworld is not exactly fair because Macworld
different.
Expo was huge. Okay.
Yeah, hundreds, thousands.
But it's a great replacement for the part of Macworld that everyone really wanted, which is to have the community, to have some learning experiences, to be able to really spend quality time with your friends and the people in the Apple community that you're seeing online or reading online all the time, and just to have a really good Apple community experience. And that's the part that we have all missed so much from Macworld
Very
Expo.
much so.
And that's the part that Mac Stock keeps alive.
We'll keep it going. So check it out, macstock2021.com. And with that, the show has come to a close. We've had just so much fun. The hour just flew by here. So let's go ahead and wrap things up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios, or you can go to our YouTube page, our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/DaveG65. You also can subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts and many others. But better yet, just go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg. You can find me on Twitter @DaveG65. Patrice, thanks so much for coming. We always love having you. We're going to have you come more often. And it is never enough time we can have you in the show. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Thanks for having me, and I'm very happy to join. Like, it's always fun. People can find me every week on the Big Show with Jeff and on the Mac Show with you, Dave, and with Jeff, with some lovely other people at British Tech Network. You can find everything I'm doing, all the projects and social media links and just everything at thepatrice.com. Very easy to remember, The Patrice. There's only one. And my podcast is a lovely podcast called Foodie Flashback, where I talk to interesting people like David and like Jeff about food and just everything that goes with that. And I mean, if you're interested in basically a small fraction of what's awesome in Chicago, like food wise, you have to listen to the episode with David, because he took us on a road trip through Chicago area basically. I'm still that's why I have to come to MacStock and then basically probably spend another 4 weeks in Chicago just trying out everything.
There you go. Absolutely.
Plans for next year.
Next year, July. That's usually when it is. So, well, thanks for being here. Jeff, to let everybody know how to get a hold of you, as well as you just released a video.
I did. So that video is on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/jgamut. And the video is how to switch the voices for your Echo device, because Amazon added a male voice to their device. So anyhow, I talk about a lot of stuff there. youtube.com/jgamut. Twitter and Instagram, jgamut on both of those places too. The Mac Show on Fridays, the Big Show on Thursdays, and Mac Voices Live on Tuesdays, and then quite oftentimes here with you too. So yes. I kind of get around.
Well, thanks. I really appreciate you both being here, and we appreciate everybody here who was listening. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks, guys.
Yay!
That went crazy fast.
It did. You saw him. You see how my meticulous mastermind of looking at the notes, and I see where our pace is going, and I'm moving things around. And I thought about
watching stuff bounce around.
Yeah, and I thought about, hey, I haven't talked about Mac Stock, so I threw that in there. And
yeah, I'm still. I mean, we do 2 or 3 articles on the Mac Show, and you do I don't know how many, 15, 20, something like that.
Seems like it. Yeah, I try. I sometimes get up to 10, and I start seeing so much good stuff. And I've been starting to use Flipboard again. I hadn't started to use Flipboard, and Flipboard really makes a huge difference. I don't know why I wasn't using that in the past. I've created a Mac. I've created In Touch with iOS magazine, so I'm gonna start.
I should subscribe.
Yeah, it's out there. It's I'm going to check that out. But for now, we'll say goodbye.